Welcome back to Sax Player TV. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos on saxophone gear, sound, and the history behind the music we love. Today we're talking about one of the most iconic setups in saxophone history, the Selmer Mark VI saxophone paired with an Otto Link mouthpiece. This combination has become almost mythical, especially in the world of jazz. For decades, it's been associated with some of the most influential players and recordings ever made. And even today it remains a reference point for what many players think of as the classic saxophone sound. In this video, we'll explore where this pairing came from, why it worked so well, who played it, and why it's still talked about all these years later. Legendary players who used this setup. The Selmer Mark VI was the defining saxophone of the modern jazz era, particularly from the mid-1950s through the 1970s. Players like John Coltrane, Sonny Rollins, Dexter Gordon, Stan Getz, Wayne Shorter, Joe Henderson, and many others used a Mark VI during some of the most important periods of their careers. These musicians didn't just play the instrument, they helped define the sound of jazz itself. When it comes to mouthpieces, Otto Link became the natural partner to the Mark VI, especially on tenor saxophone. While some players did use this setup on alto, the combination of a Mark VI tenor with an Otto Link mouthpiece was by far the more common pairing. That large, warm, open tenor sound that we associate with classic jazz recordings is very often the result of this exact setup. Otto Link mouthpieces were used by players such as John Coltrane, Hank Mobley, Ben Webster, and Lester Young, all of whom helped cement the Link sound as the gold standard for jazz tenor. What makes the Mark VI special? The Selmer Mark VI was first introduced in 1954 and stayed in production for over 20 years. It followed earlier Selmer models like the balanced action and super balanced action, but it refined and improved on them in key ways. The Mark VI offered more comfortable ergonomics, improved keywork, and an acoustic design that gave players a wider tonal palette. It could be played with warmth and depth, but also with clarity and projection when pushed. This flexibility made it especially appealing to jazz musicians, whose musical language was evolving rapidly during this time. The horns were built using traditional manufacturing methods with a significant amount of hand finishing. Because of this, no two Mark VI are exactly the same. Not all Mark VIs are great horns, and that's an important point. Some are outstanding, some are average, and a few fall short. Early examples from the 1950s and early 1960s are generally the most sought after, though excellent instruments exist from later years as well. Players were drawn to the Mark VI because it felt responsive and expressive. It didn't force a sound on you. It allowed you to develop one. Manufacturing changes and the end of the Mark VI. By the early 1970s, manufacturing priorities and economic pressures were changing. Selmer eventually replaced the Mark VI with the Mark VII around the mid-1970s. The Mark VII featured heavier construction and a different feel, which some players liked, but many felt it lacked the flexibility and character of the Mark VI. Once production stopped, the Mark VI slowly became more than just a professional instrument. It became a reference point. As fewer great examples remained available, demand increased, and the Mark VI earned its reputation as one of the most sought-after saxophones ever made. Otto Link began making mouthpieces in the early 1930s, and his designs quickly became popular among jazz musicians. Early Otto Link mouthpieces were made in both metal and hard rubber, with designs that featured large chambers and smooth open airflow. Some of the most famous models include the Tone Master, the Riso chamber, and the early hard rubber pieces often referred to as Slant signature links. These mouthpieces were known for producing a warm, full sound with a strong fundamental and rich overtones, a sound that suited the jazz tenor perfectly. Many early Otto Link mouthpieces were hand-faced, which meant there was significant variation from piece to piece. If a player found a good one, it was something special. That variability, combined with their association with legendary players and classic recordings, is why vintage Otto Link mouthpieces now command very high prices. In the early 1970s, production moved to a larger factory, marking a clear divide between vintage and modern Otto Link mouthpieces. What makes the Selmer Mark VI and Otto Link mouthpiece such a powerful combination is how naturally they complement each other. The Mark VI has a broad, flexible acoustic character that responds easily to changes in air and embouchure, and the Otto Link mouthpiece allows the sound to stay open, resonant, and full. Together, they create a tone that feels big without being spread, warm without being dull, and powerful without being harsh. This setup gives the player space to shape their own sound, rather than locking them into a narrow tonal profile, which is exactly why so many great jazz musicians gravitated toward it. Decades after the Mark VI and the classic Otto Link mouthpieces stopped being produced in their original forms, this combination still defines what many players think of as a great saxophone sound. Teachers still reference recordings made on this setup, and modern instruments and mouthpieces are often judged by how closely they can recreate that feel and response. Modern equivalents exist, from Mark VI-inspired saxophones to mouthpieces based on vintage Otto Link designs, but the original pairing remains the benchmark. It's not just about nostalgia, it's about a combination that worked, still works, and continues to inspire players today.